Hello, Straight Talk audience. This is AI Gonzalo Lira, and this is Straight Talk, Cyber Cafe Edition.
Hey, what's up? How you doing? How you doing? What's up, man? Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Professor Red Pill, and we're doing the Liberty Port as we do each week, December 3rd, 2025. Today's episode is financial advice from broke people. What's your name on your podcast, Adam?
My title is Collapsing Faster Than You Think. Hashtag Collapse 2025.
Yes, hashtag collapse 2025. So, yeah, that being said, like I said, if you're new to the channel, like and subscribe, share with friends, definitely. That really helps us out. Make comments if you can, helps the algorithm. Also, join our locals. Links in the description, as well as on Rumble. It's just a click away. And yeah, enjoy the show. So what do we have for agenda today, Adam?
Oh, quite a lot. Everything seems to be breaking down all over. A lot of the predictions, everything we've been talking about, seems to largely be coming through. Just kind of coming along. Collapse 2025 has been a fantastic hashtag for the year. We can get into things. Like, you want to frame anything, or you want me just to get straight into it?
I mean, basically, I've been running this this hashtag for a while now, for about 6 months or so. It's actually getting some
Professor,
traction.
I'm
I'm
not
here.
hearing you very well at all. You sound a lot of interference.
Yeah, hold on one second, broski. What about now?
Terrible.
Can you hear? Terrible. Okay. Well, this isn't great. So, I'm gonna go back to my microphone. Is that better? Are we good?
All
Can
right,
you hear me?
while you sort this out, I'm
I'm
gonna
I'm I'm
just get
here.
straight
Hi
into
guys,
what
what's
is
up, man? I'm sure you can
taking
hear
this
me.
long running.
I think that's on your end, though. Honestly,
The hot war going on is important. It's not the be all and end all, but what it is, it's not a proxy war in the sense that it's far beyond that. What it is, it's a coalition war. It's not Ukraine as a proxy against Russia. It is the West collectively in coalition against Russia. The conflict itself is, however, a proxy for the West, because a lot of the legitimacy of the West, Western structures, people, politicians, the order is being staked on this proxy war. And again, the war itself is a coalition. It's a coalition war. All of us are fighting Russia. For what reason? Don't worry about it. So we look at this war, we look at the condition, the state of it, and we can see that Ukraine is collapsing militarily, economically, and politically. This collapse 2025, signals something far bigger than the war itself. It reveals a global system running out of money, out of legitimacy, out of industrial capacity, out of power, out of time. This front line collapsing, buckling, is exposing the fragility not only of the Ukrainian armed forces, but the entire Western project, the debt, the internal division, the strategic confusion. It's not just Kiev's crisis. It's not just a problem for Zelensky. It's for everyone. Militarily, they are just getting hammered. The Russians continue gaining ground. I think over September to November, according to analysis published on Sonar 21, the Russians have captured 86 settlements from September to the end of November, including the fortified strongholds of Volchansk, Kupiansk, Liman, Seversk, Konstantinovka, and Pokrovsk. Now, for most people, that doesn't mean anything. If anyone's following the war, the strategic advances, these are very significant settlements of the 86. The front lines are continuing, being attrited, being worn down. And this is what we've been saying, not just all year, but the entire podcast history. We said the fall of 2025, we will see the fall of Ukraine. They can still keep fighting. They are still keeping on fighting, but it is the fall of this country's armed forces as they've ground and ground and ground. Now, on one hand, one can say, well, your prediction, you said that the war would be over, be lost by this time, by fall 2025. You've also said they may continue fighting for as long as they have bodies. So I would like to say that our prediction has been validated, is correct. It appears that everyone knows it's over. It appears that they're still able to find some bodies to keep it fighting. But rather significantly, the 28-point plan, which was amateur work, which Washington released or had leaked a 28-point plan, peace plan, Kiev and Russia, and it was terrible. It was amateurish. It was many problems. I've published some analysis on it, on the issues on my Telegram channel, but at the very least, it was something, and it recognized some of Russia's basic victory. Okay, the territory they've got, they're keeping. We can recognize de facto legitimacy, which doesn't mean much. A few other things. I mean, there are a lot of clauses in there which I think are just unworkable. But a significant progression from where it used to be, which is no, the European position and just in general, they haven't been doing well. So politically, there's been a massive corruption crisis. I think the political division was called Energia Atom, which is the energy ministry. Oh my goodness, $100 million was stolen here and there, and it's a drop in the bucket. The former prime minister of Ukraine said, I think maybe a third of all the money has been stolen by Ukrainians. And if you've given $350 billion, I believe over $100 billion has been stolen by Ukraine. That's my understanding of how the corruption works over here in Eastern Europe, especially Ukraine. If it's only a third getting stolen by the Ukrainians, they've done a very good job. So it's $100 billion plus, let alone 100 million. Give me just 1 second.
Right on, right on. What's up, guys? How you doing? Yeah, so we're having technical difficulties. I'm wondering if it's the overlords that are like hacking stuff, having computeral issues going on for all eternity and stuff like that. But nonetheless, like I am here, and we're having some nice little technical difficulties. But yeah, I can hear. I went back and I can hear like my voice is clear. If it's clear, guys, go ahead and put +1 in the chat if you can hear me, and if you have been able to hear me, because like I said, my computer's been bogging down for like a couple of weeks now. I don't know if it's government overlords trying to like destroy stuff and infrastructure, because like I've been calling a lot of stuff and I've been getting a lot of heat actually. So I don't know what's going on. You can still hear me, right, Adam?
Yeah, you sound good to me.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, the whole time I went over it, there was nothing on my end. I think it's on your end. You might need to restart your computer. That's what I did. So, yeah, it is what it is. So anyway, I guess you were talking about Russia again. Why are we still talking about Russia? Just kidding. Um, yeah, good stuff. So recap what you were talking about. I'm sorry, guys, for they're following us. They're gonna watch this later as well. But what were you saying about the Russian conflict,
Oh,
Ukrainian conflict?
I was saying that the war itself is a coalition war, but the war is actually it's a proxy, not it's a proxy for the Western project in total. It's collapsing
Uh,
militarily, politically, and economically. Again, on
uh,
Sonar 21, there's a great analysis of the budget of the Ukraine and the economy, and it's
uh,
collapsing in all these three areas. And it's
uh,
reflective by proxy of the Western project in general, where we're collapsing financially, collapsing politically, and rather than militarily, I would say we're collapsing socially.
yeah. I mean, the thing is that one second. um, I think it's collapsed at both ends, and like I basically came to the conclusion that the whole operation's a money laundering operation because J.P. Morgan is funding both sides of the conflict, and that's been exposed like within the last year. So J.P. Morgan's been handling processes for the Wagner Group from the very beginning, even during economic sanctions and when they shut down the SWIFT system in Russia. So basically, Wagner could not operate without JP Morgan processing their funding and transactions. On the Ukrainian side, they're basically the Western economies are using Ukraine to basically funnel and launder money through the Ukrainian banks. That both banks in Russia and Ukraine right now are packed with US dollars. They are packed with a lot of money right now. There's a lot of money circulating between Russia and through Ukraine on both sides of the conflict. So basically, what Russia's doing and what Ukraine has been doing is that they've been basically sending surplus equipment from both sides and just destroying it in massive drones, massive amounts of like casualties and destruction and chaos. And basically, Russia's just been depleting all of their old tech and their old surplus Soviet shit. Same thing with the Ukrainian side. They've been basically throwing all that stuff in, and then America had a lot of post-Soviet stuff, especially with NATO and Europe, and they warehoused a lot of stuff, and they basically modified. Same Russia. Russia was modifying a lot of the Soviet stuff because they're not very wasteful people. They try to. Gonzalo Lira talked about this as well, that they don't just throw stuff away or basically trash it. They try to make modernize it, update it, so they can still use it in the field. So basically, both sides have been doing that from the beginning with the arms buildup from the Ukrainian side, from the NATO side. Basically, we know that the reason why they were doing that was so that they could send the more equipment from America, military industrial complex, basically. So they said, hey, send your old tech, send your old surplus equipment to the Ukrainian conflict. Any other surplus equipment you might have, go ahead and send it in, and we'll replace that with modern tech from America. Because part of the contract that NATO has, like in Europe with America, is that they have to buy a certain percentage of the military hardware in order to keep that agreement, that alliance. So that's the reason why America funds most of NATO. It's basically a big money laundering operation. It's just business, bro. I mean, basically, it's America's the innovators. They create the new tech, they create all the new hardware and all the different gadgets and whatnot, and they sell this equipment all over the world. So, like, one platform in particular is the F-14, F-16. This thing was built in the 80s. They just modernize it, and then this is one of the most widely these are one of the most widely used aircraft, like fighter jets in the world, because it's a very easy replicable hardware or equipment, and they just modify it for the usage in each country or whatever allied nation that they're selling it to, and they basically sell it. Now they're doing the new fighter jet that they just came out. Lockheed Martin came out with, what is it, the F? Is it the Raptor? The F-22? They
There is
still there?
F-22, F-35.
Yeah.
I'm
So
not sure.
these are the new tech that they're replacing the old F-16, F-14s with. So these are very costly machines. They're billions of dollars to maintain over its lifetime. Plus
I think they're
the
$1 billion each.
that's why I mean
Like
they're
just
billions of
just just to
dollars.
buy them, let alone
Yeah.
maintenance. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, they're billions of dollars to
Yeah,
purchase, to staff, to train, the technical hardware to work on them, the equipment, the parts,
the
as well as
sticker
the training.
price is a
Right.
billy. Because
Correct.
when the Americans they had their aircraft carrier out in the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, and the Houthi made them have to turn sharply, and one fell off. Actually, I think two fell off, and at $1 billion sticker price each time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, that's so it's all MIC, which is acronym for military industrial complex. And it's not just American side. You gotta understand the largest suppliers of military industrial complex, or the largest supplier of military equipment in the world are what two countries right now? Have been for the last 30, 40 years. America's one. Who's the other one? Starts with an R. Bueller, Bueller, Bueller. Yeah, Russia. Ding, ding, ding. So Russia and the United States are two of the largest military contractors in the world. They provide most of the military equipment throughout the world since the 80s because they just surplused all the shit and they just basically selling it. So that's why when you go to like Libya, you go to Iraq, you go to like South America, they're using a lot of Russian tech. They're using a lot of American tech from the 80s because there was something called the Cold War. I don't know if this is before your time, but I grew up during this period, and both Reagan and Khrushchev just spent ungodly amounts of fucking money during this time to build up this huge military war that never happened, basically. It was highlighted in the Lord of War, and that was based off of that was a fictionalization of a actual arms trader from Russia that actually was recently exchanged for some wokey black basketball player that was too high or carrying paraphernalia in Russia, and that's basically what happened. And see, he was basically trading for both sides. He was trading for the Russian military-industrial complex, and he was trading for the American military-industrial complex. So he was double dipping, and that's why they referred to him as the bearer of death. Or they actually have a name for him. I don't recall at this time, but he was one of the largest
Merchant
arms.
of Death, I think.
Merchant of death is the word. Yeah, exactly. So he was one of the main culprits of arms trade throughout the world. I mean, he was selling shit on every continent of the planet. Made lots of money, and of course, he was arrested eventually and put in federal prison, and eventually was exchanged to the Russian Federation recently during this recent conflict. But I think we talked about before that basically Russia and America, and maybe I talked to other people that I work with academically as well. That basically Russia and America are kind of mirrored of each other. It's basically similar sized countries. Even the culture, being in the region, like dealing with them on a daily basis, I just can't tell the fucking difference, to be honest. There's a lot of mirroring in just culture and like how they carry themselves. Russians are very direct. Americans are very direct. They don't dress the same. There's some cultural differences, but they're basically the same fucking people, to be honest. They're both business minded. They're both they have a lot of resources. The systems are very similar in how they operate. Of course, America is a corporation, as we've pretty much been breaking down over the last year through our through our think tank. Obviously Liberty Rising Group, which is a think tank, and of course the Gonzalo Lear Legacy Group, is a think tank, alternative think tank. And we've been doing the analysis, and pretty much with the 14th Amendment. Once the 14th Amendment was passed and ratified, that's when America became an actual corporation. Russian Federation became a corporation after the collapse of the Soviet Union, when it started to open up, and America came in and basically modernized it. And it was kind of mutual between what's his name? I'm drawing a blank here. He was like the Bill Clinton went there. What was his name? He was talking about it's before Putin, the last leader before Putin. Not Medvedev, but the other one. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeltsin.
Yeltsin. Yeah, Yeltsin pretty much opened up, and Gorbachev also was part of that capital, or the modernization and capitalism. So Russia is a fucking capitalist. It's basically a corporation too. The difference between Russia and the United States is the United States it's run by oligarchs, very similar to Russia. But the thing is that it's fascist in the sense because like the corporations basically are the land bearers, and they have more power they're more powerful than the government. Let's just face facts. the oligarchs in America have more power than the U.S. government. I'm just putting that out there.
In some ways, they are the U.S. government. Like when you talk about the
BlackRock,
government, it's not
yeah.
just the congressman, the senator. It's especially the asset managers, the managers of the corporations, Larry Ellis, these oligarchs, especially the technocratic ones. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So America is the corporation. It's corporate. It's America Inc. So America is the largest corporation in the world as far as a nation state. Russia is basically the second most powerful nation state outside of like China, who's rising. But really, China is kind of like it's a communist system. So different ball of wax altogether. Now, the difference between Russia is that basically the state owns most of the resources and assets, and the corporations are basically given they're given like a charter by the government, and that can be revoked and pulled at any time. Versus in America, they could do the same thing, but it's very difficult because of the court system and the fact that they have special interest in banking and industrialization. This goes back to World War II with the Austrian painter, with J.P. Morgan. Again, we keep hearing this J.P. Morgan, J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan and the industrialists in America were basically funded the rise of the Austrian painter. There's a lot of evidence that I've been researching and seeing in the banking and during that time in industrialization, and he would not have rose to power as quickly and as powerful as he could without the industrial capacity of the United States. So I don't know why they did it. I don't, other than it's just business, bro. But it's the same thing with Russia. Russia's exactly the same thing. Post-Soviet collapse. You good?
It's not even just post-Soviet. In 1930s, Stalin, they were funding Stalin the same way they were funding the Austrian painter.
100%. It is what it is.
Made a
business,
ton of money.
Business, bro. So,
I've heard historians say that why would they do it? They said, well, they probably didn't anticipate the Austrian painter going as far as he did. They probably regret it now.
I would say they might regret it, but I mean, you got to understand who else that they put in power over the years. Mao, Mussolini, Saddam Hussein, Zelensky. I mean, the list just goes on and on.
They don't.
I mean,
they don't care. They're sociopaths.
Yeah. I mean, it just is what it is, bro. I mean, like basically a lot of like the original alphabet agency that came out of the OSS after World War II. This was basically a semi-private club organization. Everybody was from Yale. These were business school graduates. Even if you look at a lot of the current G-men, they will tell you that the alphabet agency currently runs private businesses as NGOs and different types of organizations that are actually private companies, but they're fronts for the alphabet agency to launder money. That's fronts, whatever. This is all Gonzalo Lira broke all this stuff down. He was the first one to really talk about it, and then they later on, like in the last like 3 to 4 years, there's this guy that's been going around social media. He says he's an ex-spook, and he was one that actually did say this. He came out and said, yes, this is happening. The alphabet agencies do have private companies that are associated and they are run, but you don't know that they are alphabet agencies, and they're very successful, and some are publicly traded, but he could not disclose due to, security reasons, because of course he's got a security clearance. So it's well known. It's well known. And this is the reason why. Yeah,
is Palantir a private company? It's got shareholders, it's got people that run it that aren't part of the alphabet agencies, but they are. And Peter Thiel is not just a government asset, he is part of the government, as we just said moments ago. So, you can ask Grok, who is a tool of institutional compliance and therefore subversion, and Grok will say, no, Palantir is not not an alphabet agency corporation. It's private. Yeah, 85% of the revenue is tied to government contracts, but it's not as it is. It's like, no, it absolutely is a government corporation. It is incorporated. with what? With the government, with the state. It's not just a private firm. It's not you being a sole trader. You can't make Palantir. Only the CIA, who who founded Palantir. That I think the CIA put down $2 out of $25 million to fund Palantir through its venture capital arm called InQtel. Right, and Peter Thiel, who was he before Palantir? Part of the PayPal mafia, Elon Musk, many of the others. And so he put down, I think, 7 for 25 million, and the rest are all these deep state oligarch actors. And this is how the world works. Don't ask Grok.
I'm just going to point out this in particular. Sorry, I'm coming off a cold right now. It's in the caucus. It literally the weather will change like that. So it went from like nice, like cool fall weather to like just cold as hell and just terrible. Anyway, yes, the situation is the NASA, for instance, is a semi-private organization. It was a public organization, or not public, but it was a government agency, military agency, and then they privatized it, and now NASA is what now? What is it? Anyone? It's SpaceX. So what had happened right after the '08 collapse, Tesla, SpaceX, all these different organizations, that there was someone that from South Africa, I can't remember his name, starts with an M, Musk, which is very small hatty in nature.
He's the most successful African American.
Yes, and he's also got a very small hat-ish kind of name, apparently. And that's a whole other story altogether. But the reality is his companies were on the verge of bankruptcy, and you can go Google and go on the CensorTube and the different social medias, and you can find videos where he talks about, I was on the verge of bankruptcy, and then the government came and gave me a bailout. Right? There's a reason for that. Billy Watts says, "Hello, Musk." Yes, very much, very good. Yeah, the situation is that the government bailed out all of his corporations for a reason, because it posed a national defense situation. It was national security. SpaceX, Tesla, all these technologies, innovations that he owns and patents and things of this nature. If these corporations, any of his companies failed and filed bankruptcies, the banksters, they could come in, do audits, and they could sell all of that to whoever the highest bidder is to pay off the debts. So that means that China, Russia, and any country can buy up all of this stuff, this very sensitive, innovative like materials and like stuff like that. And they could use it in their own space agencies or military applications or anything. So the government basically bailed them out. So in essence, SpaceX, Tesla, was the other one that he has, the satellite thing. These are government agencies, guys. These are no different than NASA. These are semi-private organizations that are government funded. He's an NGO. That's the best way to describe him. He's the richest man in the world, apparently, but he's an NGO. He's a non-government organization.
Starlink,
yeah. Starlink. What was Starlink used recently that you're talking about at the beginning of the episode? What were we talking about? Do you remember?
Yeah, Ukraine, battlefield, war. It's been one of the greatest military infrastructure, because they can be in a trench in the Ukraine, and they got all the Starlink satellites. I think he owns over half the satellites around the Earth. Right, they're owned by Musk and Starlink.
No. Aloha. Was it Aloha
Musk?
Yeah, he doesn't own it. The taxpayer owns it. Basically, Tesla.
It's a corporation.
SpaceX, Starlink.
Yeah. And he's the manager that's appointed to head them. And he, in order to fuel because it's all about lies and lies. So he says, I'm an engineer. I spend most of my time engineering. I said, no, you don't. And maybe he does. Maybe he does like enjoy engineering. Maybe that's why he's there.
No, he does, but he hires government contractors, engineers from NASA and from, alphabet agencies to come in and do all this stuff. MIT people, the top people in the world come and work for his organization, and they have to be vetted by the U.S. government for national security reasons. Yeah, because you remember, like during the Biden administration, during the Biden administration, he was like, I don't want to hire woke people, and they were like, well, you're a government agency, bro. You have to hire government. You have government contracts, so you have, because you receive federal funding, you can't discriminate. You have to hire these people we tell you to hire. And he was pissed. He was on Twitter talking about it. It's like, dude, I mean, you're a government goy, bro. You work for the government. You're a government employee, just like any other NGO in the world that runs, a government agency. You are a semi-private NGO and publicly traded NGO. So basically, Musk is, for lack of better words, a what?
Welfare king.
He's a welfare king, but he's a G man. He's a G. He's a top G. Top G, man. Top G. He's top G, man. Remember when I say like goy man? Like he's a government goy? G man. You'll get it. I don't want to spell it out, but people that are at least above a room temperature IQ will understand what I'm saying when I say that he's a G man. So yeah, basically he went to Russia because he was going to start this company called SpaceX. And in SpaceX, they were like, he was like, yeah, Russia was providing all the rocket engines for NASA, and the government came to him and was like, hey, dude, we need to have propriety, and we need to have innovation for NASA for more efficient and in-house rocketry for our space satellites, for our military satellites. We can't rely on a foreign entity to get our satellites up into space. This poses a national security issue. So they created this company called SpaceX. And with this company, he created new innovation techniques to get satellites into orbit that are mostly military and government, by the way. And that's basically the history of SpaceX. Yes.
You want to hear the more modern and most American example of everything you just talked about? Allegedly, Grindr is not doing so well. Maybe going into bankruptcy. Maybe it's been forced to sell. Anyway, it's been acquired. I think I read something somewhere that the government have had to step in order to make sure that China or someone else does not acquire Grindr, as it there are a lot of Americans on their database, we'll say.
Yeah, let's just say that social media is we've known this from the Patriots, the Patriots Acts, Patriot Act, or the repeal of the Fourth Amendment. Either way you want to call it, the Patriot Act or the repealment of the Fourth Amendment. Either way, you call it either way. But anyway, the reality is after the Patriot Act, that's when the government got into social media, and they just went, they just put all their little things in it. So anything you disclose on social media, anything that you talk about on social media, it is basically an NGO. It's a government agency platform. This is Facebook. This is Google. This is Twitter. This is any of these entities are NGO government agencies. They get money from the government, grants, loans, SBA loans, all kinds of wonderful little jazz, and everybody's using them. So they're using them in Russian Federation, they're using them in Saudi, they're using them in China, and this is why the CCP, why they've banned Google, Gmail. This is why they've banned Facebook. They from time to time ban YouTube. CensorTube from time to time because they know they're not stupid, and this is going back to the Edward Snowden guy, basically, who kind of broke all
as
that.
well as Twitter files. When Musk bought X and they released the Twitter files, all this came out as well. All the government and we knew it forever. The government are intervening in everything, and especially social media, in order to manipulate democracy and everything. Just to go back on the Grindr thing, it was sold by its Chinese owner in 2020 by an American venture capital firm. It was then taken public in 2000, and that was done because of national security concerns over the Chinese government potentially accessing sensitive data. It went public in 2022, and it's just come back in the news last month because it was reported that the company had received interest for a go private deal because they are bleeding hundreds of millions of dollars.
I'll put it this way. We talk about the AI bubble. Let's just put it this way. I'll put it very simply for everybody because this is two financial guys that are broke telling you how things work. These tech companies and these AI companies, let's just say, for lack of better words, they are basically Ponzi schemes. They don't make any profits. They're not profitable, and they run off of venture capital and basically funding from nefarious different bank investors and government agencies. So in order to stay afloat, they're like welfare companies, like welfare queens and kings, like the
Zombies.
government. Yeah, the zombie companies. Yeah, as an economic term that we use. These companies are funded and kept in power basically as by these organizations. They're for lack of better words, no different than like the mass media or any of this other stuff, in digital marketing. And it's more or less like they are, I would say, for lack of better words, going back to World War II with Churchill, where Churchill took control of the radio stations, took control of the newspapers, took control of all different mass media, and he used it as a tool to propagate and to demonize, the axes of evil, and it worked. He did a very good job of it. Actually, he was very, very successful. And there was another organization, there's another guy that did this who was, known as the Austrian painter, and he was very successful when the government took control of all mass media and stuff because it was all private, during the Weimar Republic, and that's how he gained power and influence. So this is a tool the government uses in order to gain control, influence, and power over its people. It goes back to Rome, bread and circuses, but go ahead.
What they do now is the main change is it's become a little more sophisticated. Rather than the government owning it outright, the government appoints managers and they actually own it. And this is like people say, in the UK, Thatcher, great free market person, right? She privatized the economy. No, what she did is she took state-owned public stuff, sold it to her friends in exchange that they do what what the government wants, and it's just cloaking it. And then they also now had the profit motive to like extract money because it was done like license things, and things have all gone to hell in a handbasket because it's not actually private. It's this kind of
NGO.
Government pseudo-capitalist
NGO.
order.
That's what it's a non-government organization. That's all it is. They're just NGOs.
Corporations,
Yeah, they're publicly traded non-government organizations. All they are, basically. That's what exactly like, and it's the same thing. Like I said, this all happened post World War II. They started privatizing governments. They started privatizing different sectors. Military, they privatized. This is why it's called the military-industrial complex. This is what Eisenhower warned us about and said, beware of the military-industrial complex. But now we have multiple complexes that we've been talking about over a course of a year, if not more, in the Liberty Report. Prison industrial complex, the medical industrial complex, pharmaceutical industrial complex, the banking industrial complex. It's all complexes, and this is segueing into what our topic is tonight. Collapse 2025. This is what's happening when government gets into business and starts to do their little trickeries and fascism and shit like that. Basically government involved organizations, government involved corporations. And your corporations they were public. They were meant originally, corporations were meant to be for the public benefit and the common good. That's originally why they were given charters. Before, it was private businesses, small businesses, this sort of thing. So it's mom and pa's, co-ops, things in this nature. And then they incorporated them. They gave them a corporate license, the government, and this was granted through the people, through the taxpayer when the people actually had rights and they incorporated. And it was, like I said, it's for public benefit or the common good. Then they started to say, well, we need to expand these corporations to expand the economy and innovate things of this nature. So they were like, okay, now we're going to issue common stock and things in this nature. And like I said, this goes back to the early stages of capitalism. I mean, you can go back to the Roman period and see stuff like this that was happening that they've done. It's all rehash and new stuff that they do over time. But it's the reality is that we're at the pinnacle now where these systems are starting to see you're starting to see the collapse and you're starting to see the stress as a result of this new type of system. There is an economic term, and you're the economist, so there's an economic term for this particular type of governance, right? Keynesian theory, I guess, is what we learn in business operations, but you might have a better economic theory.
Keynesianism is the idea that the government should just keep printing money and spending it to stimulate the economy, and the benefits from stimulating aggregate demand will trickle down, and it's all it does is like the government, it gives the government basically an unlimited license to just be spending money, and every time the government spends money, as you say, it creates these complexes, but it distorts
Bubbles.
the economy, it distorts reality, it creates the bubbles, it creates all these problems. Yeah. So Keynesianism is as an ideology enables these conditions. It's a systemic collapse risk because it's the entire system that's falling apart, and this is what occurred in 2008 when the financial system was one of the primary drivers, this artificial creation of credit, and with the mathematization of finance, with CDOs, with derivatives, which are way order of magnitude above today now than they were in 2008. It facilitated the bubble, the housing bubble, and everything would have melted down financially, economically, and they should have done. But the government stepped in and bailed it out, which means they socialized the risk.
What point of order, Adam? Did the government really step in, or were they always there? Think about that one. Roll that up and smoke it.
They stepped in more. Right? They bought actual stocks. They bought bonds, stock. Quantitative easing is the bank bonds mostly, but they also acquired equity in some of the banks.
Yeah, GM Motor Company, by the way, that's solely taxpayer owned. By the way, they never paid back the bailout, so the government actually owns a huge percentage of General Motors. By the way, so we the taxpayers, like, we own GM. It's a government agency.
We also, well, not me, you. America acquired some Nvidia or Intel stock. I think Nvidia. I think they went, we'll buy some of that, or we'll steal some. I don't know. I don't know how the deal was structured.
Why not? Why not? Sure. Austrian painter economics 101, man. Why not? Why not? Just we'll acquire it, whatever, right?
However they got it. Yeah. And then, I mean, and this is the thing, tech bubble, the government prints like a sort of 500 billion investment into Nvidia, who does a 200 billion investment into OpenAI, who does 150 billion investment into Meta or whatever. I don't know the exact there. It's all the same money that's originated from the government, circling and velocity, and you're like, what's going on here? And it's all being
siphoned off. Yeah,
art of blowing bubbles.
Yeah, exactly. Bubble behavior. I mean, it's Roman style bread and circuses, man. And it's at epic proportions. I mean, what's the derivatives market now? And we'll explain what derivatives means, by the way. Adam will, he's an economist, but like, what is what's the derivatives market right now? Is it's quadrillions, or is it trillions and trillions?
It was a quadrillion. I think it was a quadrillion. I think all money 5 years ago just breached the quadrillion mark.
Okay, so what is that? What is a quadrillion? So the people, like, as if we're like.
So we got a million, a billion, a trillion, a quadrillion, quintillion, hextillion. So it's
Yeah.
to the power of 4 quadrillion. You know what a trillion is? Right, America's worth $30 trillion. Money is a quadrillion. Okay, it's like 30 something
It's
Americas, or
as
what America produces in a year. Yeah,
what
times 30.
I'll use the quote from Stalin. One death is a tragedy. A million deaths is a statistic. So $1 is a necessity. A quadrillion is a statistic. It's just a number. It's not real. It's fake. Fake and gay. All right. So the derivatives market, it's quadrillion now. And what was the other question I'd ask if I remember? If you remember?
You said what is a derivative?
What is a derivative? Yes.
So it's derivative. It's implied from something. It's a financial contract where the value is based on the performance of an underlying asset, a group of assets, or a benchmark. So you can have a gold bar, and you can put a contract, an option, some kind of derivative or leverage on that. You can take a cash flow business. You can take the real estate assets. You can collateralize the real estate assets, loan money out based on that collateral, creating more credit. And so all that credit, that's all the derivatives off the initial collateral. So you're able to have 10, 20, 30 times ratios of actual money. So their derivatives are often leveraged instruments. A small investment can control a much larger underlying asset, which magnifies both potential profits and losses. And what you have is the big money. How people work is they want to have hands in both pies. You have kind of the right hand side, which is the market. The bubble's blowing up. You want to take advantage of that. You want to be gaining. So you have hands in your right pie in businesses that are generating cash flow, in economic rents. But on the left hand, you also want to be insulated from the consequences of what if the right hand blows up. Then the left hand comes in, it absorbs the collateral. So they're going to take your house, they're going to take your business, they're going to absorb that collateral, and they're also buying up gold, land, things that appreciate when the right hand blows up.
Right.
This is kind of what the central banks and the family offices, the big money, the Black Pope, these the ruling families, this is what they're doing. They have a lot of hands in the right hand side. They also are building up the left hand side. It's why you look at central banks. They're buying Bitcoin, some of them, but mostly they're buying gold and silver, and they're Professor says that silver is much more difficult to extract, to
It's a finite
gain.
metal. Yeah,
Gold
finite.
is too. These are all finite because they're hard, right? But apparently,
Yeah.
it's much more difficult to extract silver, and there's a lot of
Labor
industrial
intensive.
use for it.
Labor intensive. Yeah. The processes to extract and to refine silver takes a lot more processes than gold. Gold is literally there. I mean, you can go to a stream and you can panhandle and you can pull nuggets and like flakes out and you just basically melt it down. That's the refining process most of the times. And then you can add different metals and stuff to like lower the gold content. Silver is embedded in rocks. It's not like you can just chip silver out like a nugget. It's embedded in a lot of rocks with lead and different types of elements. Silver, basically gold. I worked in mining, by the way, as a lecturer, as a trainer. So I taught concepts and lexicon and different key concepts. So that's why I learned a lot of this stuff was in the mining copper, gold, phosphates, things of that nature. But the reality is that silver is embedded in a lot of different elements around it. So it has to be broken down from rock form because it's embedded in rocks and stuff, and they have to basically separate everything through a chemical process and tumblers and breaking it up and then chemicals and all these. There's different ways to extract it, but nonetheless they have to separate the metals that it's surrounded by, and the process takes so much time and effort that like it has to be done at an industrial level to make it profitable, because silver is obviously not as high. The price is not as high as gold is, versus gold doesn't take as much processing. Plus, gold doesn't tarnish. It's forever. Like, it's easy to extract and redo it. Whatever needed. But silver has more applications, and i.e. because it's a cheaper metal to work with. It is what it is. I've got a comment here real quick. I just want to. Oh, okay. Coolman Coffee Dan says, "What's up? What's up, broski?" Yeah, I mean the thing is that's basically it. I don't want to get too far into like the silver and gold, but if you remember at the beginning of the year, I said silver was probably going to hit about $50 a barrel in December by December, and now it's trading I think around 58. It's projected to go to 60 to 70 by the end of the year. And I said gold would eventually hit 4,000, which it hit that long time ago. And then I said that Bitcoin would reach its milestone of 100,000 within the year, and it hit that milestone. It just went to infinity and beyond. And the reason why I made these predictions is not because I'm like a financial advisor, which I'm not. And this isn't financial advice, but this isn't really a financial channel. We talk about economics and policies and different things that we talk about, but we're just giving you the policies and what's going on politically and economically so that you can make your own judgments based on that. And we're experts. That's the other thing. But the reality is that the reason why these commodities are going up is what we've talked about: the derivatives market, the fiat currency, central banking schemes, the bubbles, the NGOs, the government, spending. This is all the reason. Everything. If you haven't followed us for a year or two, especially my channel, Adam's channel on the Telegram group, links in the description, you will understand exactly what we're talking about. And that's why I'm like asking Adam to kind of break it down. Me, as like I said, I'm a professor, I'm an associate professor. So I have students that don't know these concepts. Like I have freshmen, first year students, and then I have third and fourth year students and undergraduate as well as graduate students. So when they're learning the stuff for the first time, it's really difficult, especially when you get into to organizational structures, you get into leadership studies, you get into economics and basic marketing and government and all of these different policies and understanding case studies. You got to really break it down so people can understand what you're talking about. So that we're trying to do the best that we can. This is very complex stuff, but that's the reason why you guys follow us and why you watch the channel, is so that you can basically understand what's going on geopolitically and economically from a layman, at a layman level, so that you can go and at least, be prepared for what's happening or what's going on in market conditions and prepare accordingly. But more importantly, so that when you're talking to other laymen's, you can say, hey, this is what it is, and explain it to them. And then they're like, oh, wow, that's crazy. I didn't understand that. And now they understand it. So, people, you get more respect and you can learn from this as well. So, I mean, you're getting college level, master's level education just by watching these podcasts. It's free, not paying anything to watch this stuff. Um, but that's all I'm going to say on that. But like anything else we want to talk, we want to talk about Venezuela too. That was the other topic we want to get into, and this is all related to what we've been talking about with this theme and stuff. Collapse 2025, and I'll get into the geopolitics as well as the economic reasons for that.
So you talked about money laundering. You said this is all money laundering. I don't know if I made the point or not. It's money laundering and empire and power. So Venezuela, what's it all about? Well, in one word, oil. In a second word, oil and democracy. Democracy. Right. But really, it's about power. It's about trade. It's about the Chinese and the Russians and spheres of influence.
Part of it, yeah. I mean, it's all part of that, yeah. I mean, like I said, point of order with regards to money laundering. And when the government does this, it's not money laundering. It's just that's government. That's what they do. So it's not really it's business, bro. So it's not money laundering when the government does it, and it's not money laundering when the government entities, NGOs, or private corporations that are working in conjunction with the government. Going back to the Dutch East Indian Trading Corporation, it's not money laundering. Going back to Christopher Columbus and the basically genocide of the entire population of people, he killed off like 90% of the population for gold and conquest. That's not homicide. That's not genocide. That's just business, bro. So I mean, especially when he's cutting kids' hands off that didn't bring him gold when they came up to the ships. That stuff is just not. That's just business. That is nothing. That's not homicidal or madness or craziness, especially when he tried to become king of the Caribbean, of the Bahamas, where they actually landed, because they didn't land in the Americas, they landed in the Caribbean. But yeah, that's just business, bro. No, but I mean, as far as what's going on in Venezuela, I'll give you the breakdown. Basically, Venezuela is sitting on the largest oil reserve in the entire planet. I'm going to say that one more time. Venezuela has more oil than the entire Middle East combined. It's been that way since the beginning of oil production. They know it's there. They've always known it's there. And the problem with South America is it's a very unstable situation, because the governments are they go from fascism to socialism to communism to anarchism and all kinds of crazyisms. And it's a very unstable region of the Americas. It's probably one of the most unstable regions, been for a while, just because of going back to World War I, World War II. I mean, at one time, Argentina was probably one of the wealthiest countries in the Americas at the time, outside the United States, of course, North America. But in the Americas, it's one of the wealthiest and most prosperous. You can see that even today. We've had Argentinians on here, Mario, for instance, Liquid Monkey, and you could see the architecture from the early days during the prosperous times. They have the brick roads, and you could see there was money in Argentina. Buenos Aires, definitely see there was money at one time. But just it's not there anymore, because they've gone through fascism and all this stuff. And we've had experts on here talking about it. But I digress to Venezuela, because it's sitting on a lot of oil. And not only that it's sitting on oil, it's sitting on a heavy crude oil. So the thing is during the 70s, the United States refineries went from processing sweet crude, because we have a lot of it. America has a lot of sweet crude. We have probably one of the largest supplies in the world of sweet crude, and some of the best actually in the world outside of oceanic. So they were like, okay, because of the oil embargoes, because they were dependent on Middle Eastern oil and different stuff, we're going to retool and we're going to start processing heavy crude. So they transferred all of their refineries to processing heavy crude oil, because it's cheaper, it's readily available, it's more abundant, and there's a lot more applications you can do with it if you refine it. America has some of the largest refiners for this heavy crude in the world, and they've got some of the most advanced refineries in the world right now. They pretty much patent the technology. So this is why they were buying a substantial amount from Russia before the war. Main things they were buying from Russia was the oil, heavy crude, because Russia has a lot of heavy crude. They have unbelievable amounts, unlimited amounts of fucking oil, basically. And they were buying certain like forestry stuff and gold and whatever, diamonds and things. That they ended up taking over South America in the diamond trade at one time. Not only that, but technology is coming from Russia, i.e., NASA with space rockets. This was eventually changed to SpaceX with Musk that we talked about previously. But once the war happened, Canada, who's also seen a lot of heavy crude, which was part of that pipeline that got basically discontinued or killed from the Biden's Green New Deal bullshit, the Keystone Pipeline. That was going to pipeline oil to the refineries in Texas, where they refined the heavy crude, and that got killed. So now it's all trucked in and shipped through, freight, things of this nature. And it's easier, as we know, going back to Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, it's easier to transport oil through water than it is to pipe it, or through trucking, or through trains. And it's very efficient. It's a lot cheaper. So this is why it's difficult. It's not cost effective to be extracting from Alberta and bringing it down through trains. And it was better to build a pipeline, but that got killed basically. So now they're like, well, Venezuela is the next best thing, because there's another conflict that's going on in the world that we've covered and we predicted, that I don't know if you guys know about, but this is called Yemen and Israel and Iran. So the shipping lanes there are not secure. They're not very safe right now for oil transport. So they need to find alternative like means of getting safe, effective and efficient commodities to these refineries. And there's a country that happens to have a lot of this, and they have the ports already established that the United States built for them during the Bush administration and previously. and they already have the infrastructure because we were Exxon in America. We were there in Venezuela before Chavez took over. So before they had the communist revolution, and we were refining it already then. It's just it wasn't at the capacity and that we had because we were getting stuff from Saudi Arabia, from Canada, from Russia. We were just getting it from all different countries. It was just flowing in from everywhere. So now it's like, well, they have a lot of oil. The country isn't stable because of the geopolitical changes over time, the oil crisis that happened. And oil is starting to tank. So Russia's no longer a reliable source for this. Canada's no longer a reliable source because there's something that Donald J did called tariffs that I said was going to happen. And because of those tariffs, Canada's tariffing us, or the United States, and the United States is tariffing Canada. So it's no longer a stable country to get the oil. And if you look at the current maps of oil production in the world, and I've talked about this in the Telegram channel multiple times in Straight Talk News, and I've talked about it here from time to time. But I like I said, I'm breaking it down for you. Canada replaced all these different countries in the Middle East. They replaced South America, or sorry, Saudi Arabia and Russia for the heavy crude. Now they represent 50% of all heavy crude, if not more, coming to the United States to be refined. This is unsustainable. This is like an organizational structure. You want to diversify where you're getting commodities from, because if something happens in Canada, like a socialist takeover, or some kind of issue, and you can't get those in anymore. Say there's a labor strike on the transit, because transit in the United States, like trains, for instance, these are all privately owned. All the tracks in the United States, those are all privately owned. So you have to pay whatever they tell you to pay, and they have a monopoly on it, on transport of oil. So it's not sustainable versus the vessels. It's different, it's cheaper. So long story short, they're trying to basically take the Venezuelan oil at cost and put a puppet government in there that's going to sell the oil to them at cost so that they can transport it to refineries in Gulf of Mexico to refine the heavy crude so that America can keep their dominance in oil. So now they'll get it from Canada, and they'll get it from South America. And I predicted this was going to happen like 6 months ago. I said, yeah, eventually all the trade with Asia, with China, and with Russia, and with the Middle East, that's done under Trump. That's no longer going to be happening. He's going to focus on the Americas, and he's going to focus on commodities coming from America, because you understand South America is a very large continent, and there is a lot of resources there, and there's a lot of poverty, and the governments are easily manipulated and easily controlled. That's why China is there. That's why China has been there, is they're trying to gain influence so that they can control America through South America commodities trade. And so what's going on now is basically Trump is like, I'm not doing it. I'm going to go ahead and just take control of South America through Argentina with Milei, give him a bailout. Excuse me. Give him a bailout so that we have control of Argentina, take control of Chile, take control of all of South America, which is what Reagan tried to do and what Bush was trying to do. And basically, I think Trump will be successful. I'm just telling you right now. I think he's going to be successful in taking Venezuela and controlling South America, because that's what the agenda is right now, is getting as much control of South America as America can. And South America is a lot easier to deal with at this point than dealing with the Middle East or Asia, because of BRICS and because of all the stuff that's been going on there over the last 20 years, 2 decades, with influence of Russia and China and things of this nature, Silk Road initiatives. So America is basically continuing to isolate itself from the rest of the world by controlling South American commodities and trade. And that's the reality. And the thing is, too, is if Trump controls South America, a lot of these South Americans that are living in America, they're going to self-deport. I'm just telling you, that's part of it too. Is like, well, if I just build up South America, then these people will just go back. They don't want to be in America anyway. If you ask most South Americans, you ask like people from Central America, they will straight up tell you, they will say, man, I'm only here for the money and the bitches, and you're fresh out of bitches. So they're just here for money. They're in America for money, for jobs, for economic opportunity. If that economic opportunity goes back to Central America, back to South America, and they stabilize the countries, there's no point for them to stay because they don't really like living in America with gringos because the shit is cold. It's cold as hell in North America, and they don't like the climate and they don't like the people. They want to go back to their country. And that's eventually what will happen is you'll see reverse migration if it's successful. I think it will be, honestly. But your any points, anything you want to add to that, Adam?
Yeah, I'm just getting a message from the CIA. Support regime change for oil. Whatever
Correct.
that means.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. This is straight up business, bro. That's it. They're gonna take the guy out. That's what I think is gonna happen. It's gonna happen soon, probably next week or two. They'll take him out. They'll start occupying and start doing their what they tried to do during Chavez when they tried to do the coup d'état then. But this one will be successful. I think it would be very
Personally, I
successful.
don't know. Like they've got all the military, like they've got a whole positioning, a
They got
posturing
7
right
carriers.
there. It's
They have
cost
7
a
carriers.
fortune to be out there to
Yeah.
position like
Oh,
this.
of course.
It
Yeah.
seems like it's difficult for them to pull back, but they can, they
Oh,
could, they
oh,
should.
no, they're not. They're not. They're not. They're going in Venezuela. It's gonna happen.
It's the sunk cost, meaning the money they've put in just to positioning their forces there, is so
Yeah.
much that it appears just on the amount of forces they've accrued that they've committed to it. But it just seems wrong.
I don't know if it's wrong or right. It's business, bro. It's military industrial
Business, bro.
complex and different complexes. So America's broke, like I told you. The government is needing taxpayer and they need to create economic prosperity because we're in collapse 2025. And the only way to do that is to gain control of markets and control of commodities and corner the market so they can dictate the supply and the control of assets. Same thing Romans did. This is the last ditch effort of Trump, the Emperor Palpatine and Caesar, and trying to provide bread and circuses for his people. Because I told you before, we're going to see a UBI president, i.e., Trump, and he's going to provide bread and circuses. In order to provide those bread and circuses, he's got to conquer lands and take control of resources and assets. And that's what the whole I'm going to invade Canada and take control of it, and I'm going to take South America and take control of it. That's all this is. It's just him trying to gain influence and spectrum, scope and scale and control the commodities market. That's basically because the derivatives market says in the quadrillions. So I mean, this is how they're going to pay that off. They're going to have to pay that off through commodities trade. We're going back to World War II again, basically. The industrialists are pushing for it, and they're like, "No, we need to
Oh,
do it."
well, quite interestingly, there was a paper internally published by the Bank of International Settlements who said, listen, you can try and inflate your way out of the national debts, but the interest payments you're going to pay as governments are going to rise probably even more so than the inflationary effect. So actually, I don't think you guys can just inflate your way out of the debt because you have so much debt and you're servicing so much of the debt that if you just print more money, like actually, we're not recommending it. Don't do it. You can't do it.
They tried doing it during Weimar Republic, and you saw what happened there. And then the Austrian painter was like, I got a brilliant idea. I'm going to bring in Western industrialists and bankers, take bank loans, and start retooling and start projects like public projects. And then I'm going to go ahead and start taking my neighbor's gold and just steal it, basically take it back and say that, well, this is my gold and their commodities. First thing that he did is when he went into the neighboring countries is that he took control of the gold and the vaults if they weren't already taken, if the gold wasn't already gone, it was sent to France or somewhere else. They've already offshore. That's the first thing that these governments did is they prepared they didn't worry about defending the country. They worried about defending their gold. So the first thing they
Switzerland.
did was grab the gold and put it in convoys and guide the hell out of the country. Then they prepared a defense against the superior army at the time that they were dealing with, i.e. the who, and they lost. And when
Voldemort.
the yeah, Baltimore, yeah. So when the Austrian painter got into the country, he was first thing he went to the banks, to the vaults. He was like, "Where the fuck is the money? It was empty." He was like, "Oh man, shucks, we got screwed." So he's like, "Fuck it, we'll take the commodities then. We'll take control of all the mines and the different, whatever, and find out who's the wealthiest people in the country and put them in camps and just take their shit." And that's basically what he did. So and it just basically rinse and repeat, so to speak.
He also held won the Rothschild ransom for the highest sum ever ransomed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is what it is, dude. So that's Trump's playbook. Like I said, he's going to use the Reagan playbook at first. It was going to fail because America's no longer in the position that they were during the Reagan administration. They're not an industrial capacity country. China is. Europe was before they self-sanctioned. Russia kind of is, but they don't have the human capital anymore that they did during the Soviet period. So like now, basically, they're like, well, Reagan economics didn't work. Tariffs kind of backfired. So now we're just going to go to the Austrian playbook, the Austrian painter playbook, and we're going to start just invading people and taking their shit, taking their gold, and then taking their commodities, and that's where we're at. World War II. I mean, it's the same shit rehashed, happening over again, 100 years later. And then you could throw the ideology in there too, between wokeism and fascism. So whatever you want. Like I said, I'm like a political atheist at this point. I don't give a shit any side. I don't think it's both retarded. I already know from I'm a capitalist, so like I see the gray. I don't see black and white. I see what's going on. I call it, and I predict it pretty well. And I give you guys a timeline and accuracy to as best that I can based off of what I see in the data analysis. And they're going in Venezuela. Like I called, they were going into Ukraine. Russia was going to Ukraine. Similar reasons, but not really. That was more, I think, ideological, as well as there was some commodities based. But we know that that's basically one big money laundering operation from both sides. So it's a banker's war. This isn't really a banker's war. This is an industrialist war. This is basically, it's turned from a banker's wars to basically industrialist wars. Because if you look at the Nuremberg trials, you look at who got off, who were acquitted, and the only people that were acquitted were bankers and industrialists. Everybody else hung or went to prison for a long time. So that's who usually it benefits from war, are the industrialists and the bankers, and they get off scot free. We've been seeing this for the last 5 years, 10 years. What's that guy Fredman or whatever his name is, the crypto trader kid? He just got acquitted by the Trump administration, and that guy stole billions. He ran the largest
Pardoned.
Ponzi. Yeah, he ran
Was
the
it
largest Ponzi scheme in history. He made Bernie Madoff look like a welfare case, and they did. Bernie Madoff died in prison, by the way. Um, this kid spent less than a year, and they basically were like, "Yeah, you're acquitted. You can get the fuck out of here. Like you're pardoned, presidential pardon. Bye, see ya." And it got memory hold. It got memory hold. We don't ever hear about it. Nobody even talks about it. You're not even allowed to talk about it on social media, or, I mean, maybe we might get deplatformed, but the mass media is not allowed to talk about it. Got memory hold. They covered it once, and then nobody talked about it ever again. So there's a reason for that. Yep. I guess what's the word? There's this. I guess there's post-Soviet. There's too big to jail is one thing. That was kind of the meme during the '08 crisis. And then there's the other one that was during the Soviet period when it collapsed. It was if I don't steal it, someone else will, I think was the analogy. And that was kind of how it was. It was a free for all. So like basically the connected people and the officers, the colonels, the high ranking people, they were stealing everything, and nobody was the wiser. Most of the people thought that the Soviet Union was going to basically the country was done. I mean, it got gutted completely, but internally as well as externally. But most of the people were under the impression they were still going to work and thought they were going to get paid eventually and get their pensions. They were like, we'll just go to work because they're eventually going to pay us. I mean, you know, but they really thought that the Soviet Union was going to start back up again. It was just basically they were in an economic crisis. That's all. They thought the government was going to, restart, and they were sorely mistaken because while they were going to work and continually, working for free, basically, uh, the high-ranking people that were supposedly their overlords and for the people or committees for the people were stealing, robbing them blind, left and right. So the smart people, they basically just became oligarchs and billionaires, and they stole the money back. So you go from the Czar age, where the Bolsheviks basically they stole from the elites and they replaced them. This goes in Animal Farm. George Orwell's Animal Farm talks about this. That was the analogy of it. They went to the power went from one oligarch to another oligarch that was communist, the Bolsheviks, and then thieves and what is it called? Thieves of arms or some shit. I don't know, matter. The reality is that they held it for a long time, and then the Soviet Union collapsed. And before it even collapsed, the people that were in power were stealing left and right. And like I said, the saying was, "If I don't steal it, then someone else will." That's basically what we have today. These are the people that are in power. These are the people that have the power and influence in these countries, Eastern Europe and Russia, and nothing's changed. It's the same bullshit, and it's going to continue to be this way forever in history until the planet becomes engulfed by the sun and it doesn't exist anymore. We're at an hour and 15. Anything else? I think we covered a lot of stuff. Anything else you want to add, Adam, before we end this shindig?
That's all. Thanks.
Remember, like and subscribe and go to the locals, man. Rumble 3, as you can see, right downstairs or right underneath the scrolling thing. What is it? Rumble 3 gets you $3 off your first month's membership on locals, on my locals. Join Adam's locals. Help us deliver content. The money that you guys donate, or the money, sign up for locals, pays for obviously pays for my internet, pays for the different stuff that I do to keep streaming to you guys, and keep giving you information that's useful, that you guys enjoy. And I hope you guys enjoy the podcast, man. Like, subscribe, definitely comment as much as you can. Share it with people. Share it in Telegram. Share it all over social media. That's about it, man. I'm done, man. I'm pooped. This cold has pretty much killed me, man. It's like beat me down. Yeah, that's it, man. Any last words?
Very much appreciate all the support, watching, comments, engagement. Much appreciated. Thank you.
All right, guys. Good night.